I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step guide on how to get started using Codex on your VS Code. Now, if you go to chatgpt.com, you might actually see your VS Code like this. You could decide to install it. You could decide to download it, which is more like using ChatGPT on your device. And then also, if you go to Codex, you also see the Codex IDE, which is, it looks pretty much similar to your ChatGPT. But in this case here, you don't need to click on download for macOS. You can use it directly on your VS Code. Now, let's get started. Once you have your VS Code downloaded, you can check some of my videos on how you can set up your VS Code. The next thing you can also do is at the top, you're going to see a chatbot here, a tab at the top that says Codex here. If you don't see Codex, you might actually be seeing something else such as chat. If you see chat, the next thing you can do is you're going to enable the Codex functionality. Now let's get started with Codex. Once you've done that, you see an interface like this, an interface that is waiting for you to activate it, an interface that is waiting for you to sign in, an interface that is waiting for you to enable its functionality. But in this case, we're going to be signing in with GitHub Copilot. You could also sign in with your ChatGPT, but in this case, we want to leverage our GitHub Copilot sign-in flow. You click on this, you click on continue. Now you're already signing in your Codex environment. Now, your Codex environment is a little bit different from your regular chat interface, which is this UI here. Let me close this. It's a little bit different from this. It has some nice UI to it. This one is also the chat interface for Copilot is also pretty nice, but this, it looks sleek. So now let's proceed. Now let's explore this interface. Let's see how it looks. This interface here is similar to this interface here. As you can see here, this is where you get to see your chat history, if you have any chat history, and that is similar to your Copilot. It's very similar to you seeing your session here as well. Also, here, if you click on these settings, you can sign in with your ChatGPT. But in this case, we are currently leveraging our Copilot to access Codex. You can also set up your Codex settings. If you click on that, you get to see your Codex settings. The language, you want to automatically detect the language, review history, do you want it to be inline or detached? Let's keep it on inline. The next thing is show context window usage. Let's enable this. We want to see our context window usage. And also send shortcut. You want to use the send command or you want to use the enter command. So let's just keep it to this. Or this plus enter for multi-line prompt. Let's just keep it to enter. The follow-up behavior queue or steer. Let's keep it on queue. In terms of your configuration here, you can open your config.toml file. This is where you edit your configuration to customize your agent behavior. This is quite different from your Claude. It's also a little bit different from your Copilot settings, and also is a little bit different from your anti-gravity setup. So Codex uses config.toml to customize agent behavior. And then once you do that, you can restart ChatGPT after editing, after the edit, so that you can apply the changes to the documentation. Also, the available reasoning efforts, there are 5 selected. You can also select this as well. So the light, medium, high, extra high, max, and ultra. And also the ultra in the model picker slider. Let's keep that. Now, your personalization. This is where you get to set up a custom instruction that'll be given to your Codex. Once you give the concept instruction, then you save it. Once you save it, that will be the custom instruction that will be used by your Codex. And also your memory. You want to enable local memory. So this creates the memories from the chat on this device, and then you use them to personalize chat in the future. So that way your agent is context conscious because you actually have a local memories. This also prevents some form of slop being introduced into your code base. It also allows you to be consistent with its let me just use the word train of thought. Also, Allow memory to generate from tool assisted chat. Yep. We want to generate memories from chat that uses MCP tools or web search. So some search that uses MCP tools such as, let's say, Figma. You want to keep some of those memories also on local so that it is also aware of those changes. And then also you want to delete the local memories. You can come here and basically delete your local memory. But here we don't have any local memories to delete. Let's click on delete. Let's just see what happens. Yep, local memory deleted, even though we do not have any memory set up yet because it's freshly installed. And also the personality, you can specify the personality. It can be pragmatic or it can be friendly. If it's pragmatic, it's going to be concise, task focused, and direct. But if it is friendly, to be warm, collaborative, and helpful. Also, the MCP server, you can set up your MCP server here. Almost every single ID has an MCP server at this point. But here, you can actually set up your MCP server. If you know your custom MCP server, if you have a custom MCP server, you can specify the server name, the command to launch, and the argument and the environment variables that need to be passed into the MCP server, and then also the working directory. This kind of look like containerization, but it's not a containerization. Off topic. This is MCP custom MCP server setup. Let's go back here, and also hooks. Here you can also customize your hooks. Here currently there is no hooks available, and then also plugins. You can also specify the plugins here. You can add, you can create a new plugin. You can add a marketplace or add MCP server. If you have some plugins already, you can also browse your directory for that. And your account, this is going to, do you want code to open the external website? If I click on open, it's going to open the external site, but I don't want to do that. Now, so that is how you set up your Codex settings, which we did when we click on this gear icon here. And next in here is you want to create a new chart. If you click on this, this is going to be a new chart. Already, there's a new chart because we haven't instantiated any new chart. So that is this. Now here, this is where you get to prompt your agent, your Codex agent, to do what you want it to do. But before that, let's explore these options here. Here you can upload files or folder. For example, you're working on a project and you like to add a screenshot or a particular design from Figma or something that inspires you to create your product. Guess what? You could also specify the files or the folder. Just drag the folder, drag it here. Codex agent will be able to understand it and also leverage the file by using that as a context in creating his own implementation. And also, you can also set a goal that you want to pursue, which is you want to make sure whenever users sign in, they can see a flag, the American flag, right? So that could be the goal that you want to set. Or you want to set a goal to make sure that a particular functionality actually works as expected. You could also specify the goal. Also, planning mode. You could also specify a planning mode. This allows you to plan properly before Codex started touching anything. If Codex want to implement a change, or Codex want to, let's say, refactor your entire code base, or you want to restructure your entire database model, guess what? You need to plan it out before you actually get implemented. And also files. Here, type to search for files. Now, ask for approval. Now, this is different tier of permission they are giving the agent. By default, it comes with ask for approval, where the agent asks you, it's going to always ask you for permission to edit external files, to use the internet, or to run some basic command on your terminal. Or here is approved for me. So this one only asks for action that detected as a potential unsafe. For example, file deletion. If you're trying to delete a file, it's going to ask you for a permission. But in this case here, if you give it this permission, if you give it approve for me, that's only time. Something it feels like, this feels like it's unsafe. For example, a database migration. So it's going to ask you, do you want me to run this database migration? No, these are the safeguards that most of these AI agent platform actually put in place, more like a guardrail to steer the agent in the right direction. Also, you can also go, full access, where you are giving it unrestricted access to the internet and any file on your computer. So basically, the agent have every single access a regular human will have, like an admin will have on the computer device. You can browse the internet, you can access any file, your secret file, your credential file, everything is going to have full access to it. And also here you can specify the reasoning here, medium. And also here your IDE, you can also specify the IDE here as well. Let me specify a different model. Okay, so this is how you get to set up your Codex environment. And you also get to specify the plugins of your choice. You can go to the marketplace. You can specify the source of the marketplace. The marketplace could actually be OpenAI plugins or a GitHub repository. And you can also pin it to a particular branch or a particular tag, release tag. And then the part, if there's a part of the for the plugin in the repository, that could also be specified as well. Now, this is how you set up your Codex environment. And once you set up everything that is needed in your Codex environment, and then you're ready to embark on a journey of using your Codex agent to actually create your awesome product. If you have any question, feel free to reach out to me and also drop your comment in the section. Thank you.